Shalom, kings and queens of Kidogo. I'm Jean-Claude Dogo from Ministries. Welcome to the Spiritual Caviar. This Shabbat, we're going to deal with a topic, the faith to live. Sometimes when you live with your parents decide to leave the house and go to another area or move to another country. But this is not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the warnings that God gives a person to leave his house, to leave the place, his town where he lives, or to leave his country. So we're going to see two examples. The first example is in Acts of Apostles, chapter 7, verse 3 to 5, and it's about Abraham. And I read from the King James Bible. And he said unto him, Get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred, and come into the land which I shall show thee. Then came he out of the land of the Chaldeans, and dwelt in Charan, and from thence, when his father was dead, he removed him into this land wherein ye now dwell. And he gave him none inheritance in it. No, not so much as to set his foot on. Yet he promised that he would give it to him for a possession, and to his seed after him, when as he had no child. So this is the example of Abraham. Abraham was ordered by God to leave his family, to leave his country. And God gave him a promise that he would take care of him. He will give him a new country, and will give him a posterity, even though he didn't have a child. And Abraham believed and left. Brethren, those kind of messages, you are not going to hear about them in the majority of churches we attend, because they want you to feel good at church. But the message of God is not always pleasant. The message of God can sometimes be tough. Talk about crisis, the reality of crisis, how to escape. Talking about escaping, you can also move from your country, from the place you live, your town, because there is a danger. We saw the first example with Abraham. God gave him this order: leave your parents, leave your country, move out. I will lead you somewhere. And he obeyed. The second example we're going to see is about Lot, who was living with his family in Sodom and Gomorrah, and God told him to leave. Let's see that story in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, chapter 19, verse 12 to 15. And I read, Genesis chapter 19, verse 12 to 15. And the man said unto Lot, Hast thou here any besides son-in-law, and thy sons, and thy daughters, and whatsoever thou hast in the city? Bring them out of this place. For we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxen great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord hath sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, Up, get you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto him, unto his sons-in-law. And when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot, saying, Arise, take thy wife and thy 2 daughters, which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city. Brethren, the spiritual state of Sodom and Gomorrah was so bad that God decided to destroy the land, but he could not. He could not destroy the land with his servant in it and his family. Because his daughters were married to some men, they could benefit from that warning from the angels. So the angel said, ask your sons-in-law to come with you if they wish, if they want. They mocked him. Like right now, when you hear this message, when God say, you must have the faith to leave your country, you will laugh at me. You will mock me because you don't see the danger coming. You don't see that everything is changing. But God sees in advance what will come. And he says, prepare to leave the cities. But today, we're not saying leave the cities. We say acquire the faith to leave the city. Abraham had that faith. He left. Lot had that faith to leave. But he went to talk with his son-in-law. They refused. He took his wife. He took his daughters. And they left. Unfortunately, the wife didn't want to leave. She didn't have the faith to leave. So, you know what happened to her. Please, let our heart be attached to God only, not to material things, not to the big house we built, not to the cars we have, or to the wealth, our bank account. Because when the crisis comes, you cannot save those goods. Look at the example of the war of USA, Israel against Iran. Look at how Dubai, they secured Dubai. How the buildings were attacked. How the reputation was ruined. Nobody's going now in Dubai. They lost everything. So those who were attached to those cars or buildings, they have lost everything. So no matter how rich you are, no matter the number of your goods, you can lose everything in 1 second. So be ready. Ask God to give you the faith to live when God says you should live. To conclude, we have 3 kinds of people on this earth. Those God doesn't need to talk to and they prepare themselves to live. Those who need to hear God before they leave, and those, even though God wants them to live, they refuse to live. I hope you will be in the first or the second group of people. May God bless you. Shalom. Bye-bye. Let's out.